If you were trapped underground with an invincible monster, what would you do? As the struggle over no man's land raged all around them, a group of French soldiers suddenly found themselves facing a new enemy, the likes of which they never could have imagined. Now, as the last remaining member of his unit, one man must brave the depths of his sanctuary turned slaughterhouse in hopes of finding a way out. However, it's not as simple as following the exit signs. Nah, if our guy wants to survive, he'll have to scour the twisting maze-like corridors to find the right supplies, and while he might be by himself, he won't be alone. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the horror of war in Amnesia, the bunker. Alright, this one's gonna be different. The Bunker is a video game, but it's not like The Quarry or Until Dawn where we're forced to make split decisions at predetermined points throughout the story. Instead, the game turns us loose underground with a couple objectives and lets us figure things out for ourselves. So expect a lot of stumbling around while we noodle on a plan. Also, there's pretty much zero dialogue in this thing, so we took some steps to fix that. It's a first for the channel, for sure, so please let us know how you feel about it down in the comments. If it works out, we might look into doing more games like this in the future. Either way, we haven't given up on covering movies and TV shows, we're just trying something new for a bit. You know, mixing it up a little. With that out of the way, let's head over the top and charge right into The Bunker. Henry has amnesia. It's unclear what exactly he can recall or whether his memory will ever return. All we know is that he woke up in the bunker's infirmary with no one else around. And aside from the brain pate sloshing around his skull, he seems to be uninjured. However, it soon becomes clear our hero's head case extends well beyond the memory loss. Something about his actions feel foreign to him, like there's someone else who's in control. And worse yet, he started hearing voices.
Yeah, I'll say, look at all the body parts, dude. Oh, I can pick up this ribcage.
Can you smash it?
Oh.
Just playing with body parts.
Yep, it's not looking good. As for the rest of Henry's unit, their status is unknown, although the giant pile of burned up bodies is less than reassuring. Whatever the case, they must have cleared out in a hurry, as there's still some useful items lying around. We got fuel, medical supplies, a broom, and even some weird wind-up flashlight thing.
Dude, this thing sucks.
Hey, it's better than nothing, and at least it doesn't run on batteries. Only problem is the charge doesn't last very long, so I can imagine we'll be pulling that cord pretty often from here on out. Guess we'll just have to hope there's nothing around to hear it. Fortunately, at least for now, it seems we don't have much to contend with besides a rodent infestation, as evidenced by all these ragged holes in the walls. I mean, sure, trench rats are nasty, and they were even known to nibble on sleeping or wounded men from time to time, but it's nothing we can't handle, right? Well, maybe. We eventually come across a mortally wounded soldier bleeding out in the mess hall, and judging by his condition, pest control might be the least of our worries. Alright nerds, I need answers. Where were you on the night of the 11th? Oh, you don't know? Well, you know who does. Your search engines, your favorite sites, and all the sketchy weirdos they share your data with. Also me, I know everything. And if that bothers you, today's sponsor can help. I'm talking about Surfshark. Surfshark VPN safeguards online privacy by routing your connection through their secure servers, but the benefits go well beyond mere peace of mind. Imagine, if you will, the ability to browse the web from anywhere in the world. Surfshark makes that a reality. With the push of a button, you can bypass geofencing to access content Big Brother doesn't like, or maybe you just want to check out Netflix in another country. Plus, you can even use it to save some dough while shopping around online. You see, vendors routinely employ location-based price discrimination to nickel and dime unsuspecting customers. But now with Surfshark, you can be anywhere, and all of a sudden, those plane tickets are looking a bit cheaper. Of course, if you know me, then you know security is my #1 priority. so you can bet I won't be logging into public Wi-Fi without a VPN to keep the creepers out. Not to mention a healthy dose of Surfshark antivirus, you know, just in case. And with no limit on protected devices, Surfshark covers me, my girlfriend, my dog, and all our gadgets, all on a single account. There's no risk in signing up with Surfshark's 30-day money-back guarantee. So head on down to the link in the description and use coupon code NERDEXPLAINS to secure your privacy for an extra 4 months. Once again, that is NERDEXPLAINS, all one word, at surfshark.com/nerdexplains. Thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. According to Jean-Pierre, the officers bravely sealed off the only exit and left them all to die. And at this point, we're likely the only ones still alive. However, as the man goes on to explain, we're not entirely just yet. Turns out there's some dynamite somewhere and a detonator somewhere else. If we find them both, we can blast our way topside. And while it's unclear why neither he nor anyone else has already tried this, it's literally all we have to go off of right now. So we might as well give it a shot. Sadly, our new best friend won't be joining us for this one, as the sound of approaching movement makes him reconsider the whole being alive thing. It's at this point he politely asks if we would do him the honor of doing him in. And of course, I'm happy to oblige. There's just one problem. He gave us an empty gun. With time running out, Jean-Pierre implores us to check the pantry for any stale baguettes we could use to bash his brains in. But alas, there's only ammunition. And since we'll undoubtedly need all the bullets that we can find, we'll have to get creative in engineering his demise.
I have an idea.
Just put this over your head. Oh well.
That saves on ammo.
Yep, problem solved. Plus, now we can use the pistol to shoot off the nearby lock and still have a round in reserve. Truly, everyone wins. Okay, for real though, it seems we've been buried alive with a giant mouse. And right now, our only weapon is a French model 1892 double-action revolver loaded with a single round. That doesn't exactly inspire confidence, especially knowing the 8x27 rimmed cartridge packs a minuscule muzzle energy of around 145 foot-pounds. For reference, a contemporary load in a 9mm Luger would clock in at over 300. Don't get me wrong, it'll make anyone's day with a proper shot placement, but against supernatural rodents of unusual size, we might have a problem. Thankfully, the next area appears to be somewhat defensible, with a pair of thick steel doors blocking access from either side. Most importantly, however, it contains the bunker's generator, which, if the message on the wall is to be believed, should help keep the creeper off our back while we find a way out of here. That is provided we can find enough fuel. So far, the only gas can we found had about a teacup's worth. And considering they've been running this sucker day and night to keep the lights on, it's possible that the bunker's fuel reserves are already wearing thin. Knowing this, we decide to leave the power off while we take a quick look around the surrounding area. After all, the mouse made quite a bit of noise while it was closing in on Jean-Pierre, so as long as we don't stray too far from our hidey hole, the advanced warning should give us enough time to run back. Anyway, upon leaving the safe room, we find the collapsed bunker entrance, along with a note reiterating what we've previously learned. The dynamite can be found in the garrison's arsenal, while the plunger handle is off in the so-called Roman tunnels. Not sure what that last part's about, so I guess we'll start with the explosives. Lucky for us, the soldiers put up plenty of signage pointing towards various parts of the bunker, so finding our way around won't be terribly difficult. Too bad that that's only half the problem.
Officers' quarters and maintenance. Some sort of flagging.
There's a booze.
Oh, God!
Oh.
Oh,
Well, that didn't take long. Looks like we'll have to work fast while we're out of the safe room. Although, at the same time, making too much noise will undoubtedly bring the bastard down on our position. Still, it's not like we can expect to make it through this nightmare without causing a racket from time to time. And since we won't always be right beside the safe room, it seems inevitable that we'll be forced to stand our ground at some point. In that case, we'll want to score as much firepower as we can before we go any deeper. Right before the last attack, we spotted a sign for mission storage. pointing right around the corner. So that'll be our next stop. I mean, there's gotta be something good in there, right? Guess we'll find out. Anyway, after about 5 solid minutes of beating its face against the door, Stuart Little finally gives up and scurries off into the darkness. Seizing the opportunity, we head to Mission Storage, where we manage to gain entry by crawling in through an open vent. Unfortunately, it's not quite the win that we were hoping for. As it turns out, all the good stuff is locked up in storage lockers, which of course all require a different combination to access, none of which we currently have. Because of this, all we're able to walk away with is a single round of ammo for our revolver. Awesome. But wait, it gets worse.
Oh my god.
That didn't stop him.
Well, at least we did learn something valuable on our way to the storage room. It seems several of the other areas are blocked off with some kind of security shutter, including the arsenal, and by the looks of it, the red crank handle opposite Mission Storage should be what we need to open them. Naturally, doing so will probably make a lot of noise. So before leaving the safe room, we decide to flip on the generator to buy ourselves some extra time. That's the hope anyway. Based on the journal fragments we've been finding, the other soldiers seemed convinced that light would keep the creature away, but they're all dead. So clearly that didn't work out so well. At any rate, I like having the lights on, and it couldn't hurt to try. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, that was cute.
Yeah, should have seen that coming. We're not hosed yet though. There's a replacement handle back inside one of the storage lockers. All we need to do is to find the code. This brings us to the officers' quarters, as it's pretty much the only other area that we have access to at the moment. Once inside, we dip inside the room of one Sergeant Joubert, where we gain a little more insight into the situation here. According to Joubert's note, the dynamite is sealed behind yet another combination lock, and wouldn't you know it, the only guy who has the code flew the coop with all the other officers. Lucky for us, the man Pinky swears that he'll track down the code and send it back via radio transmission at some point in the future. That is assuming he's not gunned down by Germans, or blown up by landmines or artillery, or poisoned by a mixture of phosgene and chlorine gas. Yeah, I'm totally holding my breath. As for what this means for our objective, it sounds like the dynamite is off limits until we find a radio, which could be anywhere. It doesn't appear on the map back in the safe room, so I'm thinking it's probably in one of the cordoned off areas. Whatever the case, we aren't getting anywhere until we find that replacement handle, so we'll keep working on that. And sure enough, right down in the hall we find a room marked Delisle, same as the storage locker. The door is locked, but we can cut through a vent in the neighboring room. You know, if we survive.
Yeah, what's up, you
That's one way to do it. Not sure what would be in those barrels that would react to gunfire, or why someone would want to keep it in their bedroom, but I'm sure glad that they did. Still, while we successfully drove the creature off, the fact that an explosion didn't even knock it off its feet, pretty concerning. I mean, if that won't kill it, what will? Probably not anything that we're gonna find around here. Well, whatever. For now, we've got the combination, which means we can move on. Although we'll have to do it fast. While our snooping netted us some useful loot, we're running dangerously low on fuel. We'll have enough to get the shutters open, but after that, we're back to stumbling through the dark. Nevertheless, after lifting the security lockdown, we decide to hit up the nearby prison wing, as one of the notes we found mentioned something about a German POW potentially having a connection to all the weird going on. Sure, it's probably BS, but the dude still is alive somehow, so he's gotta know something that can help us, right? Unfortunately, Fritz ain't in much of a talking mood right now. I can't imagine why. What we do find out, however, is that there's a pair of bolt cutters locked in his cell with him. If that doesn't make sense to you, then I'd recommend watching Kick-Ass again. Anyway, we could use these to loot some of the chained up containers we've been passing by. Problem is, we can't access the door controls without unbolting the ventilation grate. So I guess that means that we'll need a wrench too. Probably worth checking maintenance. First things first though, we only have 2 bullets left. So before we dive deeper into hell, we'll want to swing by the arsenal to see if we can scrounge up any more. In the meantime, we'll have to carefully manage what we have and only fire if it's absolutely necessary.
We know the handle... Oh, actually, let me reload the gun real quick. We know that... God damn.
First time.
Yeah, I guess
Popped your
so.
load early.
Okay, 1 bullet left. Now, we really need to find ammo. After all, we haven't tried shooting this yet, and I definitely don't want to find out the hard way that 1 round won't cut it. The good news is that the officers' quarters are right around the corner, and there's still a good portion of it that we never got around to looting. So, we'll want to start there, and wouldn't you know it, our cup runneth over. The scav run turns up some more pistol ammo, grenades, some generator fuel, and even a shotgun shell, which means there's a shotgun somewhere. The only downside is that all our snooping around drew some unwanted attention. Of course, we probably found enough firepower to put Mickey on the run, but Martin seems to think he has a better idea.
Stupid monster.
Tricked by a closet.
Don't even know to check the closet.
Uh-oh.
Huh, guess the bunker's unbeaten. Seriously though, that was just a horrible idea, especially coming from someone who constantly dunks on people for hiding in the closet. Obviously, you never want to corner yourself like that because, well, that's exactly what will happen. Thankfully, we've been spamming that save station like it's a Bethesda game, so the little lapse in judgment didn't set us back terribly far. All we have to do now is retrace our steps, not hide in the closet, and we can head back to the safe room with enough loot to keep the party going. Okay, next stop, the arsenal. Predictably, the place is stocked with a decent supply of ammo, at least in comparison to the places we've already covered. However, the biggest win we pick up here is finding the entrance to the Roman tunnels. Naturally, the door's chained shut, so we'll need to come back with the bolt cutters. But at least we figured out where to find the detonator. Now, what we also find out here is that the monster isn't the only thing we need to worry about. Evidently, the soldiers took to rigging up grenade traps once things got weird, and they most definitely do not discriminate once the pin is pulled. Lucky for us, they're easy enough to spot and avoid, so long as you're paying attention, but they could easily become a problem if we're running for our lives. That said, they certainly make one hell of a mousetrap. All that's missing is the bait.
Come on! It didn't affect him! It didn't affect him!
What the?
Yeah! You better run. Oh no. No.
Oh.
What the just happened?
Huh, maybe they are just useless death traps. Jesus. Well, at least we got rid of them for a bit. Unfortunately, the arsenal gate is still locked up tight. So for now, we'll focus on the tunnels. Of course, that means cutting the chain, which means getting the bolt cutters, which means finding the wrench. So our next move will be hitting the maintenance wing to see what we can dig up. Keep in mind, this will be the farthest that we've ventured away from the safe room, so running will be a lot more difficult. However, this problem is compounded by the fact that we forgot to restart the generator.
What are you, fucking stupid? Huh?
Meaning another confrontation is essentially guaranteed. The only good news is that we've managed to stock up enough ammunition to drive the freak show off a few times, and it's a good thing we did. Old Mighty Mouse made no less than 3 appearances throughout the trip, and while we had no trouble fending him off, the encounters left us with a pretty startling realization. You see, during the second fight, it took only 2 shots to the face to turn him around. But then in the third, it was suddenly 3. If this trend continues, it's only a matter of time before we're dumping a whole cylinder in this thing just to buy ourselves a couple minutes apiece. And while we've been able to find ammo somewhat regularly, there's no way that we'd be able to keep that up for very long. Grenades are still the one-shot though, so at least there's that. As for our quest, we found a pretty solid lead in the maintenance office. The foreman left a note saying he was heading up to the pillbox, so we'll head there next. But of course, nothing around this place is ever simple, and wouldn't you know it, there's a locked door in our way. According to a note we found, the bunker's chaplain has an extra key, so we'll have to check the chapel. How bad could that be, right?
Should be safe in the chapel, right? I mean, it's clearly a demon from hell. Oh.
Oh.
Who booby traps the chapel?
Yeah, I would do that, sure. Call me heartless all you want. It makes perfect sense once you see what's inside. Gad. Creepy crawler turned the House of Christ into a Gwar concert. I mean, it's certainly shown it's intelligent enough to pull one over on us a few times, but I never would have guessed it had all the faculties to build itself a shrine of some sort. Still, if it were really smart, it'd simply hang out in the safe room and wait for us to come back. After all, we can't lock it from the outside, and it's the one place we're pretty much guaranteed to return to at some point. One thing's for sure, I want to spend as little time in this place as humanly possible, so let's see what we can find in GTFO. Sadly, there's no sign of the pillbox key, but we do find another dog tag with a locker combo, as well as a note left by Henry's former best friend, Lambert. I say former because the dude's more than likely splattered across a floor somewhere by now. Although, after reading the note, it's possible that he suffered a fate much worse than that. You see, prior to losing his memory, Henry went out to search for Lambert following a patrol gone wrong. Eventually, he found his friend dying in a hole somewhere, and before hauling him out, Henry gave the ailing man a drink of water from a nearby spring. Strangely enough, this caused Lambert to recover from his injuries almost immediately, and it even gave him the strength to carry Henry back to safety after they were spotted by the German lines. I'm sure you already know where I'm going with this. Lambert is the mouse. The mouse is Lambert, and apparently, he's really pissed off about it. At any rate, this revelation, although shocking, changes absolutely nothing about the current situation. Yeah, it may be possible to appeal to whatever humanity Lambert has rattling around in there, but I'd rather just leave and put this whole thing behind me as quickly as possible. So, getting back to the pillbox, there might actually be another way to get inside. We still can't get through the door, but there's a locked room right beside the entrance that potentially links up with it. And as it turns out, we already have the key.
Alright, here goes nothing.
Let's see the lockpicking lawyer beat that. Say goodbye to your hearing, though. A frag grenade's gonna clack off with 160 decibels minimum, and in a concrete dungeon like this, that's really gonna hurt. Then again, I'm sure our guy's well past tinnitus at this point, so he probably wouldn't even notice. As for our assumption, it seems we were right. There's nothing but a flimsy wooden wall separating us from our objective. And it's gone. Yeah, I'm sure we'll probably regret using up all our frags for the sake of convenience. But at this point, I'll take all the shortcuts I can get, especially when our old pal Lambert's right around the corner. Luckily, as sharp as he is, dude's still too dumb to figure out a ladder. I mean, sure, it's probably just a matter of time now that he has access to it, but, like, who cares? We just found our ticket out of this hole.
Well, we made it. I mean, this is literally the best way to get out, right? We can just climb out through this fucking hole! Okay. There's still a war going on. Still, though, I feel like this would be the best way, right?
Yup, I concur. Sure, there's a pretty solid chance of getting popped on our way out, but I'd much rather risk a bullet than another bout with Freakazoid down there. Besides, nothing says we have to leave right this second. In fact, the best way would be to post up until nightfall and slip out under the cover of darkness. If that's still too risky for you, we could make one last run for food and water, and then wait for someone to try and retake this position. Ideally, it would be the French, but I'd still gladly settle for the German. Gotta be a white flag around here somewhere, right? For real though, surrender comes with far better chance of survival than sweating it out down in that godless hell pit. Anywhere from 7 to 9 million prisoners were taken during the First World War, and as many as 2.4 million were taken by the Germans alone. Granted, their treatment of POWs was notably harsh, but again, they'll definitely treat us better than Lambert will. And there's even a chance we could get out in a prisoner exchange. These weren't common by any means, with only about 219,000 POWs being exchanged. But at least in the case of the Germans, special considerations were made for prisoners suffering with specific ailments, one of which being serious mental illness. And I gotta believe that's not gonna be too difficult to sell once we tell them what we've been through today. Now, all that being said, there's always a chance the Germans who find us aren't in the prisoner-taking business, so it might be wise to gauge their feelings on the Hague Convention first. Lucky for us, Jean-Pierre too picked this very spot to buy the farm. All we have to do is prop them up against the opening and see how they react. If the white flag goes out and they still blow his head off, we'll have to go another way. But as previously mentioned, we can always try sneaking out later. So yeah, screw the fetch quests. We found our exit strategy. Now let's weigh that hatch down with as much crap as we can find and hope to God the Krauts don't shell this thing to rubble before we can make a plan. That's my thought anyway. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments where you would want to go from here. And yes, I recognize that leaving this way means Lambert could too, but so would clearing out the exit. So what difference does it make? Plus, if we're lucky, he'll find his way to the German lines and rip them all to shreds. I mean, it's not like they would ever expect some ghoulish wall weasel to undermine their fortifications and start picking people off. Unfortunately, the game devs never intended for us to take the easy way out. So, it's back to the bunker we go. Although, on the positive side, we did manage to find the foreman's locker combination, so it's still technically a win. Nothing to do now but head on back to mission storage and clean the place out. We found most of the other locker combos since we last stopped by, so we should be able to score ourselves some decent gear before we move on. And sure enough, we come away with some extra ammo and medical supplies, in addition to a super cool French M2 gas mask. This will allow us to make better use of the gas grenades we've been picking up, as well as the numerous canisters spread through the facility. Up until now, we've been hesitant to use them because of how long it takes for the gas to disperse. Of course, it's unlikely to hit the mouse any harder than the other weapons we've found, but at the very least, we can use it to block off passageways before he can come through. However, the real prize that we found here was the socket wrench. Through the transitive property of geometry, we can now enter the Roman tunnels. It's just a matter of swinging by the holding cells. Once there, we use our special wrench-turning powers to access the control room. Naturally, old Fritz is less than pleased at the sound of his cell door sliding open, especially with Lambert dropping in to say hello. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, but we're not monsters, okay? I'm not about to let some poor defenseless POW get his bottom jaw ripped off by a mutant Frenchman, even if it costs us 3 rounds of extremely precious ammo. Not only that, we even made sure to lock his cell behind us after retrieving the bolt cutters. And yes, before you ask, we did try to help him, but the man was simply too far gone to accept it.
Hold still, but I'm trying to help you.
We did all we could. Seriously though, it's too bad the game wouldn't let us cut him loose. Having an extra pair of hands to help us carry out our escape attempt would be extremely useful, even with a language barrier. Not saying I would let him walk behind me or anything, but he could potentially make for a half-decent pack mule. Worst case scenario, he tries something smart and we put a hole through his head. Actually, now that I think about it, our whole surrender plan would probably go a lot smoother if we had him with us in the pillbox. Once the enemy closed in, he could call out to them in German and let them know we're cool. We did save his life after all. And of course, if our own side retakes the bunker first, we hand them a prisoner. That'd be worth some R&R, right? Well, whatever. No point in dwelling on it. We've got tunnels to explore. However, before we commit to spelunking underneath an active war zone, we should probably check out the soldiers' quarters in case there's something in there that we can use. Aside from the arsenal, it's the only part of the bunker that we haven't looted yet, and I don't want to walk my halfway to Rome, only to find out we need a spatula or something. Fortunately, all the time we spent schlepping around in the dark allowed us to save up quite a bit of generator fuel, so we shouldn't have any trouble keeping the lights on while we take a look around. Oh, yeah, there's one other thing that I forgot to mention. While poking around the prison wing, we found a locker combo belonging to the chaplain, and it turns out the holy man wasn't content with letting God do all the work. It's a bad day to be a mouse. Also, I know I said we should hit up the soldiers' quarters before exploring the tunnels, and we definitely should. But you see, we recorded the gameplay footage a couple weeks before I started writing/recording this, and I forgot which area that we explored first, so yeah. Whoops. Anyway, there's no telling how far the tunnels go, or where we might find the detonator handle, so we'll want to be as well stocked before heading in as we can. To that end, we'll bring the Winchester Model 1897 for obvious reasons, but we'll also take the revolver and a frag grenade in case we burn through our shells, as well as a med kit, the bolt cutters, and our McDonald's wind-up flashlight toy. Now, another thing to note here is that Command seemed convinced the tunnels run underneath the German lines, meaning our guys likely started setting up shop in there in preparation for an attack. Knowing this, we'll keep the generator running in case they already got the lights set up. God knows, if anything's gonna bring about the creation of an unkillable massive man rodent, it's Latin space magic. So we'll want to take every precaution we can before walking into the lion's den. Oddly enough, however, we haven't seen hide nor hair of our freaky little friend for quite some time. I mean, it's not like we've been particularly quiet or anything, and we even fired up a loud-ass pump to drain the flooded section of the tunnels without hearing so much as a peep from the guy. My guess is that he saw us carrying around the trench gun and decided not to test his immortality, but I suppose only time will tell. For now, we'll stay focused on finding the handle, which would be a lot easier if the French didn't leave their shit scattered all over the place. Just look at this mess. Some dude even forgot his eyeballs. Okay, for real though, things are starting to get a bit spooky. All of a sudden, we went from wooden beams and concrete to weird floating rocks and impenetrable fog. And that's not even the worst of it.
Can't see the ocean, can't see the trees. So here I stay, down on my knees.
Don't like the sound of that.
Singing and singing. We will the world we will.
Don't like the sound of that either.
Yep.
It all gets lost in the blinding twirl.
You all saw I had to do it.
He was coming right for us.
Yep.
Yeah, and he was also definitely a German spy. I'm sure of it. Most importantly, though, dude seemed completely unhinged. And he had a shotgun, which now belongs to us. Or at least it would if the game would let us take it. Seriously, what gives? We can't even take the shells out? Whatever. Let's just get out of this dump before another one shows up. Unfortunately, that means wasting some of our buckshot to blast through a wooden door, but there doesn't appear to be another way around. In any case, the move pays off, as we find the plunger handle lying just on the other side. What's more, we also discover a narrow passageway leading back to the surface. Well, sort of. Apparently, this is the giant hole in the ground where Henry found Lambert during the prologue. Of course, back then, we were able to climb out using some rope we had with us, and given the overhanging ledge surrounding the top, going hand over hand on this thing might prove extremely difficult. Not impossible though, especially if we took the time to carve out some decent footholds beforehand. That said, tossing a rope over one of those snags up there would really be the best option, and I gotta believe we'd be able to find some back inside the bunker. So yeah, once again, we found an escape route that bypasses the scavenger hunt. Granted, it's not perfect, considering we'd be popping up in the middle of an active firefight, but just like with the pillbox, we could always wait until it gets dark before making an attempt. And yes, I recognize this is where we wound up getting wounded after crawling out the last time, but I still think it's a safer bet than continuing to play hide and seek against a being beyond our comprehension. After all, the Germans have killed us 0 times, and the mouse, well, I lost track. At any rate, it's all a moot point since the game won't even let us try. In fact, the only reason this pit is even accessible to us in the first place is so we can find Lambert's locker combo and the little stuffed rabbit he bought for his son. We'll do the honorable thing and bring it back for him. Here you go, kid. Your father bought this for you right before he turned into a monster and brutally murdered all of his friends. Enjoy! Getting back to the tunnels, we find another door leading back to the entrance and quickly make for the safe room to stash what we found. However, as we expected, leaving the generator on while we went exploring cost us a significant amount of fuel, and you know what that means.
Power must have gone out.
Uh-oh.
Well, that was close. Guess that's the downside of using the shotgun. Although realistically, it wouldn't be that hard to fasten the light to the barrel with something, like wire or string. Either way, this is a pretty minor drawback to what is undoubtedly our most effective weapon, and one that can be negated entirely, so long as we keep the power on. With that in mind, we decided to go collect more fuel before moving on to the next area. Lucky for us, there's a storage tank over by the chapel. All we have to do is fill up some of the empty wine bottles that we've come across, and that should give us enough to keep the lights on for quite some time. The only downside is that we'll have to make the trip in total darkness, meaning we're almost certain to have another run-in with you-know-who. But just like before, Martin seems to think that he has a plan. You see, we found a letter in Lambert's locker that pretty much confirms he turned into the mouse. Now, it's impossible to tell whether a part of him might still be alive in that thing, but if so, Martin believes that we can appeal to his humanity by showing him the rabbit. Will it work? I sincerely doubt it, but there's only one way to find out.
Alright, I'm grabbing the rabbit.
Take it! Take it and go away! Oh, it had no effect!
Get the rabbit, you idiot!
In a shocking turn of events, the stuffed animal did not have any effect.
Yep, that figures. At least now we know that Lambert's more or less gone for good, which means we won't have to feel bad once we finally figure out a way to put him out of his misery. As for our supply run, it goes fairly well, although we're starting to notice yet another disturbing change in the monster's behavior. Now, instead of taking a few minutes for him to recover from a fight, it takes less than 30 seconds. This, coupled with his rapidly increasing pain tolerance, means we'll be burning through ammunition at an alarming rate. But at least for now, we found a solution. Turns out, we don't always have to shoot the bastard until he goes away. Sometimes, all we have to do is pop him once in the snout to stagger him, and then run like hell back to base while he pulls himself together. This will allow us to get a bit more mileage out of our revolver while we wrap up our escape plan. Plus, it also helps to conserve ammo for those moments when there's nowhere to run. Anyway, now that we have the generator all fueled up, it's time to search the soldiers' quarters. I'm guessing this is where we'll find the radio that Joubert mentioned in his note. I mean, we're kind of running out of bunker here, so if not, we're probably screwed. Whatever the case, I can only imagine that the thing that we're looking for is behind the locked steel door at the end of the hallway. However, before we start on that, there's another issue that we need to address. According to the foreman's notes, the power in this wing is daisy-chained, which apparently means that we need to hit every switch in the series before we can power up the radio. So yeah, sounds simple enough. All we have to do is search every room to find all the switches. And if we're just dealing with the monster, we'd have done it in under a minute. But in this case, we've got colonies of mutant trench rats clogging up the hallways. And believe me, there's no sidestepping these flea bags. But on the positive side, they do have a weakness. That'll teach him. Okay, for real though, we can't run around shooting every single rat that we see. We'd be out of ammo in 30 seconds. Not only that, but the little are pulling shifts in this place. So even if we take out a cluster, they'll be back before we could even turn around. No, if we want to get rid of them for good, we'll have to eliminate their food source. And that means burning up all the bodies that they've been munching on. This was mentioned by a few of the notes as the only viable means of controlling the infestation. But up until this point, we never got around to it, since they were never really much of a problem. That said, if the freaks get too hungry, I gotta believe they'll start going after living prey. But that's a chance that we'll have to take. And having found a cigarette lighter in one of the lockers, we now have the means to deploy nature's greatest form of pest control, the Molotov cocktail. Just don't try it at home. Also, I guess we could have simply thrown a bunch of gas grenades and run around with a mask on, but we kind of forgot it existed. Well, burning things is more fun. And speaking of fun, it seems our friendly neighborhood manimal picked up a new party trick. Although, if I'm being honest, we should have seen this one coming.
Ah, he grabbed my leg.
Well, that's just great. Can't fight him off if he doesn't leave the mouse hole. We'll have to keep a closer eye on those from here on out. Thankfully, it doesn't take long for us to retrace our steps and flip on all the power switches. All that's left to do now is track down the key for the radio room. Surprise, it was in the security office. Well, sort of. There was a note in there that told us where to find it, which turned out to be 15 feet away under a pillow. Very secure. So at long last, we finally found the radio, and by some absolute Christmas miracle, Joubert survived long enough to transmit the code just like he said he would. Honestly, I was expecting someone else to come on and tell us he was shot for desertion, which would pretty much be par for the course around here if you stop and read all the notes. In any case, there's just one last stop to make before we can blow this hole. First things first. We swing by mission storage to open the last of the lockers, our own. In it, we find a note Henry left explaining how he callously suckered his best friend into taking over his patrol route, thereby setting into motion everything that's come to pass. So basically, this entire mess is all his fault, and he should feel like super bad about it and stuff. Actually, you know what? No. Alright, if anything, he was just sending Lambert out there to die. He couldn't have possibly known the dumb would fall into the world's biggest hole in the ground and sit there for 3 days without the decency to die. So no, it's not Henry's fault because he cheated a dice or whatever. It's Henry's fault because he's the one who gave Lambert the super water that turned him into a giant mouse. Seriously, who in their right mind fills up his canteen from a pit with floating rocks in it? And even if it was too dark to see them, just look at the water. It was glowing blue. In other words, not safe to drink. Well, whatever. That's all in the past, and no one will ever find out about it. What's important now is that we're almost out of this death trap. It's just a matter of raiding the arsenal. This time around, we're gonna take it slower than we have in the past to try and avoid any more close encounters. Fact is, once we leave the bunker, we'll likely have a much harder time finding additional ammo, and I got a feeling this nightmare does not end with a cheerful walk into the sunset. One thing's for sure, sneaking around is a hell of a lot easier now that we have the lighter. Sure, it's not nearly as bright as the flashlight, but at least we don't have to worry about winding the thing up every 10 seconds. Come to think of it, the charging noise alone is probably responsible for 90% of the mouse attacks. Meanwhile, we just crossed the entire dungeon without even seeing the thing. And just like that, the dynamite is ours. But of course, bringing home the last piece of the puzzle couldn't possibly be that easy. Well, to clarify, it absolutely could have been that easy. But someone had to go fishing for a shortcut, when we should have just gone back the way we came.
was a dead end. Horrible mistake.
The worst.
Well, so much for saving ammo. Lucky for us, the safe room isn't too far away. But before we clack this bundle off, there's one last thing we need to take care of. I'll try and make it quick.
Oh, brother.
It's what he would have wanted.
I'd expect anyone in this unit to do the same for me.
Alright, now that that's out of the way, time to GTFO. Although, I have to say, I'm not sure the explosion's actually gonna get us out of here. After all, if the officers used dynamite to cause the initial cave-in, why wouldn't this just trigger another one? And it'd probably be even worse, considering the structure's already compromised. Also, this is sort of a nitpick, but if 7 sticks of dynamite's enough to clear God knows how many tons of dirt, rock, and concrete, why the hell are we only standing 20 feet away? I mean, I'm not an expert here, but this just seems like a really bad idea. Oh well, guess we'll find out. Hey, we're still alive. But unfortunately, that's the good news. You see, it turns out the blast did clear a path, just not in the direction that we were hoping for. And now, instead of climbing up to the surface, it seems our only option is to drop deeper down into the tunnels below. Oh, except no, it's not, because we could easily get out through either the pillbox or that giant pit by the Roman tunnels. Still, if we just have to go this way, can we at least set up a rope or something beforehand? You know, just in case the random hole in the ground is just a random hole in the ground, and not our ticket to freedom. Like, it sure would suck to survive all this, only to wind up dying of thirst deeper down than where we originally started. Nah, I'm just kidding. We all know this is the way out, because the game won't let us go anywhere else. But of course, there's still the matter of our old friend Lambert. You would better believe wherever this tunnel leads, he's gonna be there, so we'd better plan accordingly. To that end, we've ditched all the unnecessary equipment to make room for the essentials. These being the shotgun, the revolver, the flashlight, the lighter, a med kit, a Molotov, 2 frag grenades, and a stuffed animal. Here's hoping that's everything we need. And so, with nothing left to stand in our way, we bid the bunker adieu and embark on what will hopefully be the final leg of our journey. And sure enough, it's not long before we arrive at a massive cavern containing architecture similar to what we saw back in the Roman tunnels. Most importantly, however, the place has boss fight written all over it. And right on cue. Here comes Jerry for one last episode. Now, the question is, how can we actually beat this freak if we can't kill him? Well, I think I have an idea. Looking at the floor, there isn't one. It's a bottomless pit of death. That said, we don't actually have to knock him into it. We just have to trick him into stranding himself. As for how we go about this, it doesn't seem all that difficult. There's a grid of interconnecting bridges spanning the ravine between us. Some of these bridges are made out of stone and can be raised and lowered using a crank handle found on either side, whereas the others are made out of wood, which means we can destroy them with our shotgun and grenades. So just to make sure it's perfectly clear, he is approaching us from the opposite side of the cavern, and that is the side that we are trying to reach. All we have to do is draw him out to the middle, so we can flank around him and make it to the other side. Once there, there's only 3 bridges that he can use to reach us. As long as we get rid of them before he does, we should be good to go. Anyway, like I said, it's easy, which is why we totally nailed it on our first try.
Any last words?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Okay, we almost nailed it. The good news is that we know this strategy works, and we know the monster pretty much sets himself up for the Lion King treatment. But above all, we know he doesn't stay like that forever, so next time, we'll be sure to put him down the right way. That is, if there's even a next time. Turns out the dude's a lot faster than he looks, which is something we learned again and again until we finally figured out the timing.
That.
Arrivederci. And with that, Henry's finally free to reach the surface, whereupon he is immediately captured by a passing German patrol. Yeah, all of a sudden that whole pillbox strat doesn't sound so bad. Now does it? I mean, hey, you wound up in the same place. Oh well, in the end, we managed to defeat Lambert, and save both Henry and the stuffed rabbit, and as far as I know, that's as good as it gets. That said, had Henry been able to take our advice, he could have had a much easier time by simply hanging out in the pillbox, and he probably could have saved the POW as well. For that reason, I think Amnesia, the bunker, was beaten. Moral of the story, cheaters never prosper, except for when they do.